What's cooking, guys, and welcome back to my channel. I know I've been missing for a while. I haven't uploaded a new video in months now. Life was just getting really busy during the summer, and I like being outdoors, so I wasn't really inside the house so much. Also, there's a lot of new updates. You can see that I'm in a new kitchen. I moved again, so there was just too much going on in the background and I just wasn't able to upload, but I apologize for that. But I am hoping to be a little bit more consistent throughout the rest of the year. We only have a few more months left, and with all the holidays coming up and the fall recipes that I want to share, I figured this is the best time to come back. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing this easy McDonald's Copycat recipe for their apple pie. You can call these apple turnovers or handheld apple pies, whatever you want to call them. These are so perfect for the fall and autumn season. I'm also going to show you a few snippets of my apple picking day, which was such a gorgeous day. So stay tuned for the recipe. Do consider subscribing if you're new here and you'd like to join my foodie family, and also hit the bell icon so you're notified every time I upload a new video. And now let's get baking. Before we get into the recipe, I want to share some footage from when I went apple picking to make the apple turnovers. Fall is a great time to enjoy the last few outdoor activities with your loved ones before the weather gets cold. The leaves are changing their colors to those warm oranges and yellows. Apple picking can be so much fun. I visited the Wilkins farm in a small town in upstate New York. They also have pumpkin picking, peach picking, corn mazes, a bakery and shop that sells apple cider and other apple delicacies. But I was on a mission to pick some fresh apples for this season to enjoy them as is, but also to make warm and cozy apple desserts. My favorite apples are Golden Delicious, so that is what I focused on. But this farm had a huge variety of different apples to select from. I decided to make the McDonald's Copycat apple turnovers with these, so let's get into that. So out of all the apples I picked, I will be using only 5 for the dessert I am making today. You can use any apple of your choice here. I will start by peeling all of my apples. I prefer to peel them as the skin can be tough sometimes, or too thick, which also doesn't cook down, which I will show you in a bit. But these apples were so fresh and juicy, which make it perfect for desserts. Once I have all the apples peeled, I will be cutting them in half and then in quarters, and then cutting off the core from each piece because you don't want seeds in there. I will then cut that quarter again into chunks, but you can also cut them more thin than I am showing here. Drop the apple chunks in a bowl, and then you can set this aside for now. Here are all of my 5 apples I cut into chunks. To this, I will be adding 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, or you can use cornstarch instead. Then I have half a cup of granulated sugar. You can also substitute for a light brown sugar instead. Then we cannot forget cinnamon, which is very important in autumn apple desserts. I eyeballed it at about 1.5 teaspoons. And I'll be squeezing in 1 whole lemon. Make sure it is a juicy one. This will help the apples not get brown and change their color, but also give it a slight tangy flavor to offset the sweetness. Then with a spatula or a spoon, you can mix this all up till the ingredients give the apples a nice coating and everything is well mixed. Set this aside for now. Turn on your stove to a medium-low fire to heat up a pan. Once the pan heats up, you can add the apple mixture we just made in there. We are going to be cooking this down for the apples to get soft and for the sugar and flour to coat the apples properly. This will take a few minutes, but you want to constantly stir the apples around. The scent of the apples and cinnamon was adding so much warmth to my place. It was really giving all the autumn and fall vibes. The juices will start to release as the apples get warm, and the flour with the sugar together will make the mixture a bit sticky, but this is what we are looking for. I added a few tablespoons of water here so there can be some steam to make the apples get soft as they cook. Add water as you need, but only a tablespoon at a time so the mixture is not watery at the end. I added about 4 tablespoons of water here. Keep cooking this mixture until you get that sticky and soft texture in the apples. This whole process will take about 10 minutes, but keep the heat on medium-low because you don't want the sugar to burn. Turn off the heat. And then you can put these in a large bowl so the filling can cool down completely before using it. While the apple filling cools down, I am going to make the egg wash for the apple pies. I have 1 egg here that I'll break in a small bowl. And then I have about a teaspoon of milk going in there. You can also use water. Whisk it till both ingredients are mixed well. And this is your egg wash. You can set this aside for now. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit before we move on to the next step. And now let's move on to making the turnovers or handheld pies, whatever you want to call them. I'm using store-bought puff pastry because it makes my life easy in the kitchen. On a clean surface, you want to sprinkle some flour. Roll this out onto the floured surface, and then using a rolling pin, I'm going to roll it thinner but not too thin. The pastry right out of the bag can be slightly thick sometimes. Then I will take a pizza cutter or a knife to divide this into 4 pieces. You can cut perfect squares here and then make triangular shaped turnovers out of it, but I like the rectangular shape because you can add more filling to it. Then I have my egg wash that I will brush only on 3 sides and only halfway up the pastry. And then add your cooled apple filling. You can see it has that apple pie texture and shine to it. After filling 1/2, you can now fold over the other side of the pastry to close it up, making sure all sides are sealed down. Then I'll be using a fork to properly close and seal all the sides, and it also helps to add a little design. The pastry I was using had been thawing out too long, so it had become a bit sticky to work with, but we are going with rustic handheld pies, so it all worked out. I also made a few slits on the top because you don't want the pastry to puff up without actually cooking throughout, and also to release some of the steam as they bake. I will show you how to make one more before we get these ready for baking, and I'm going to speed up the process. Place your apples onto a baking tray lined with some wax paper on them and continue making the other pastries as needed. Before baking these pies, I'm going to brush them with egg wash. This helps to give that nice golden color on top. And then I am taking some granulated sugar and topping it to create a texture on top and adding a little hint of sweetness. Now you can bake this in the oven for about 15 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or until they are golden brown on top. After they bake throughout, look at how beautiful these look once they are done. I am going to take them out of the oven and let them rest in the pan before moving them onto a baking rack to cool them off. Don't bite into them straight out of the oven because the filling is very hot and it can burn your tongue. But let me show you the inside of one, and you can see how beautiful the filling looks. You can see the little specks of the cinnamon with the soft, sweet, and tangy apple filling. With a little help from the store for the puff pastry, we can make delicious handheld apple turnovers or pies. These are definitely a copycat recipe for the McDonald's apple pie, and although those are good, these are way better as the apples were fresh. The filling was homemade with just a few ingredients, and I am sure your family is going to love them this fall. Once they are warm, these will pair best with some vanilla ice cream, which I didn't have at home that day. Try these out and let me know in the comments below how you like today's recipe. So that is it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed my version of the McDonald's copycat apple pie recipe. That's definitely a mouthful to say, but these are so easy with a little bit of help from the store, buying the pre-made puff pastries and making your own homemade filling makes such a big difference in what you can do in the kitchen. So I hope you stick around for more recipes. Make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe before leaving. I'll be seeing you in the next one, guys. Until then, take care of yourselves.